Today, when standing before the majestic mountain ranges stretching across North America, it's hard to imagine that this land once concealed a colossal geological secret. These stunning landscapes, with their lush green slopes and deep valleys, are now beloved destinations for travelers and photographers alike. Yet, around 80 million years ago, this entire region was not mountains or grasslands, Nansef, but the floor of a vast inland sea known as the Western Interior Seaway. This immense body of water formed during the late Cretaceous period, when global sea levels rose and the continental tectonic plates gradually shifted. The Western Interior Seaway split the North American continent in two, Laramidia to the west and Appalachia to the east. Laramidia at the time was a narrow strip of land bordering the Pacific Ocean, while Appalachia occupied most of the territory along the Atlantic. Between these two land masses lay an inland ocean that connected the warm southern seas to the colder waters of the north. The scale of the Western Interior Seaway was truly remarkable. At its greatest extent, it reached depths of up to 2,500 feet, spanned roughly 600 miles in width, and stretched more than 2,000 miles from the Gulf of Mexico in the south all the way to the Arctic Ocean in the north. It was not only a natural marine passage but also a biological corridor, linking ecosystems that had previously been separated. Many of the creatures inhabiting this sea grew to sizes far beyond anything seen in their modern counterparts. Sea turtles could be as large as an SUV, predatory fish measured dozens of feet in length, and mosasaurs, the sea dragons of the Cretaceous, could exceed 50 feet from snout to tail. Some apex predators here had virtually no natural enemies, except for others of their own kind. This abundance of size and hunting strategies made the Western Interior Seaway one of the most intense and competitive habitats in Earth's history. However, what made this sea truly extraordinary was not only its scale or its roster of giant creatures, but the unique evolutionary experiment that nature carried out here. Over millions of years, the Western Interior Seaway became a testing ground where species constantly tried new strategies for survival. The result was an ecosystem filled with life forms that were both breathtakingly beautiful and chillingly dangerous, a world where nearly every encounter could turn into a fight for survival. Tylosaurus, titan of terror of the inland sea. If the Western Interior Seaway was once a colossal stage for apex predators, then Tylosaurus proriger was undoubtedly one of its leading actors. Belonging to the family Mosasauridae and closely related to Mosasaurus, Tylosaurus was not only among the most common inhabitants of this inland sea, but it also sat firmly at the very top of the food chain. Fully grown adults could reach lengths of up to 46 feet and weigh nearly 18,800 pounds, AD says, a size that would make any other creature think twice before crossing its path. The body of Tylosaurus was built for speed and agility. Its long, streamlined shape reduced drag as it moved through the water, while its powerful tail, nearly half its total body length, acted as the main engine, delivering explosive thrusts for sudden bursts of speed or sharp directional changes. Its forelimbs and hind limbs had evolved into paddle-like flippers, providing balance and precise maneuverability even at high speeds. In an environment where quick reflexes often meant the difference between life and death, this was an invaluable advantage. The head of Tylosaurus also offered extraordinary hunting benefits. Its skull, measuring between 4 and 5 feet in length, was lightweight yet strong, enabling it to open wide and swallow large prey whole in a single motion. Its sharp teeth, combined with a powerful bite force, allowed it to shear through flesh or gulp down massive chunks of meat. Fossil evidence suggests that Tylosaurus could even swallow prey several feet long without needing to tear it apart first. Stomach contents preserved in fossils of Tylosaurus nepiolacus, FDA, a smaller species in the same genus, reveal the brutal and varied nature of its diet. Among the remains were teeth from Hinosaurus bernardi, another giant mosasaur exceeding 33 feet in length, as well as the carcass of Platecarpus planifrons, roughly 14 feet long. This indicates that Tylosaurus was far from picky. It preyed on everything from small fish to other large predators, and even members of its own kind. Its predatory success was not based on brute strength alone. Many researchers believe that the snout of Tylosaurus contained clusters of nerve endings, or even electroreceptors, similar to those found in modern sharks. These organs would have allowed it to detect faint movements or weak electrical signals from prey in dark or murky waters, making it a silent assassin at virtually any depth. When compared to today's great white shark, Tylosaurus would have been a true giant. A mature great white typically reaches about 15 feet in length and weighs over 2,000 pounds. The wino, only about 1/3 the length and 1/8 the weight of Tylosaurus. Its jaw alone, stretching more than 5 feet, was nearly half the total body length of a great white and more than capable of biting it clean in two with a single snap. In the world of the Western Interior Seaway, Tylosaurus was more than just a predator. It was the embodiment of absolute dominance. It rightfully earns the title Titan of Terror, bestowed upon it by scientists and natural history enthusiasts alike. Mosasaurus hoffmanii, the evolutionary pinnacle of the mosasaurs. If Tylosaurus was the speed demon of the Western Interior Seaway, then Mosasaurus hoffmanii was its ultimate battleship. This was the largest known member of the Mosasauridae family, reaching an impressive 50 to 56 feet in length and weighing an estimated 33,000 to 60,000 pounds. Its sheer size alone would have made it one of the undisputed rulers of the late Cretaceous seas. But the true power of Mosasaurus hoffmanii lay in the body design and refined hunting strategies that evolution had bestowed upon it. Its skull was a masterpiece of nature, built for raw strength. Less flexible than the skull of Tylosaurus, its rigidity turned it into a devastating weapon. The jaws of Mosasaurus hoffmanii operated like a set of saw blades, using deeply rooted, sharply edged teeth to rip prey into massive chunks. The teeth were slightly flattened in cross-section, forming natural cutting edges capable of both crushing and slicing through bone. With a bite force of incredible magnitude, a single snap could shatter the ribs of even the largest marine creatures. Unlike many predators that rely heavily on scent, Mosasaurus hoffmanii depended more on vision. Its large eye sockets allowed it to capture more light, giving it an advantage in the dim conditions of deeper waters. However, its binocular field of vision was relatively narrow, about 29 degrees, meaning its depth perception was not perfect. But this was hardly a disadvantage. Once Mosasaurus hoffmanii detected its prey, its speed and size almost guaranteed success. Some studies suggest that this limitation was offset by its body mass and aggressive hunting style. It didn't need to approach its prey with stealth, it simply closed in and overpowered it completely. The body of Mosasaurus hoffmanii was optimized for sustained movement over long distances. Its streamlined form reduced drag, while a crescent-shaped tail fin, much like that of a shark, generated powerful thrust, allowing it to reach high speeds and remain maneuverable despite its massive bulk. Its limbs had transformed into sturdy, paddle-like flippers, enabling quick changes in direction and precise control during high-speed chases or sudden ambushes. The diet of Mosasaurus hoffmanii reflected its position at the very top of the food chain. It hunted large fish, giant sea turtles, smaller mosasaurs, and virtually any marine animal unfortunate enough to enter its strike range. It was not just a pursuit predator, it could also ambush, lying in wait in deep waters or in the shadows beneath rocky overhangs before exploding forward to attack. One of the most impressive demonstrations of its power was its ability to hunt Archelon ischiros, a massive sea turtle up to 15 feet long, weighing around 2.2 tons, with a flipper span of 16.5 feet and a shell as tough as steel. To bring down such a well-armored animal, Mosasaurus hoffmanii had to combine its bone-crushing bite with the ability to restrain the turtle underwater until it was too exhausted to fight back. Fossil remains of Archelon with missing flippers or cracked shells suggest that these encounters did indeed happen, and that the giant mosasaur often emerged victorious. In its era, there was virtually no creature capable of meeting Mosasaurus hoffmanii head-on and living to tell the tale. Deinosuchus, the coastal bone-crushing machine. If one were to name a shoreline predator that made every creature, Marcus, whether on land or in the water, think twice during the late Cretaceous, that title would almost certainly go to Deinosuchus. This gigantic crocodilian dwarfed any modern relative. Fully grown adults could reach lengths of up to 40 feet and weigh around 17,600 pounds. At that size, Deinosuchus was not only several times larger than today's crocodiles, but also ranked among the largest semi-aquatic reptiles to have ever lived. Scientists classify Deinosuchus into two main populations: Deinosuchus rugosus, which lived in the western region near Laramidia, and Deinosuchus riograndensis, which inhabited the eastern realm of Appalachia. While both boasted massive proportions, the western population tended to be considerably larger, sometimes reaching nearly 1.5 times the length of their eastern counterparts. This difference may have stemmed from variations in available prey, environmental conditions, and the specific evolutionary pressures unique to each region. The hide of Deinosuchus was a masterpiece of natural defense. Along its back and flanks ran 4 rows of osteoderms. Osteoderms, thick bony plates arranged like a suit of armor. These osteoderms did more than shield it from the teeth and claws of other predators. They also absorbed the force of powerful blows in combat. For an animal of such size, carrying this natural shield made it a near impenetrable, mobile fortress. But the most fearsome weapon of Deinosuchus was its colossal jaws and staggering bite force. Studies estimate that it could deliver a bite of up to 100,000 newtons, equivalent to about 22,000 pounds of pressure. This was 10 times stronger than the bite force of Tyrannosaurus rex, a dinosaur renowned for having one of the most powerful jaws among terrestrial carnivores. With such crushing strength, Deinosuchus could pulverize the bones of massive prey, crack open turtle shells as hard as stone, or tear away huge chunks of flesh with a single snap. Its menu reflected a predator, both versatile and fearless. In addition to large fish and sea turtles, Deinosuchus was bold enough to ambush enormous herbivorous dinosaurs when they came to riversides to drink. It could even take on top-land predators such as Daspletosaurus and Gorgosaurus. The image of a gigantic crocodilian surging from the water, clamping down on a full-grown theropod, and dragging it under to the riverbed is easily one of the most terrifying scenes the late Cretaceous could offer. The hunting strategy of Deinosuchus relied heavily on patience and stealth. With dark brown skin blending seamlessly into muddy banks and murky water, it could lie motionless for hours, waiting for prey to wander into striking range. When the moment came, it would unleash a sudden burst of power, driving forward with its muscular legs and tail, seizing its target in an iron grip, and dragging it into the water, where the victim would drown before being torn apart. Despite its might, Deinosuchus rarely ventured far offshore. It spent most of its time in coastal and nearshore environments, where large prey frequently passed. This also spared it from direct confrontations with deep-water giants like the mosasaurs, which dominated the open sea. Within its own territorial boundary, however, Deinosuchus reigned virtually unchallenged. Sharks of the Western Interior Seaway. In the diverse and unforgiving world of the Western Interior Seaway, sharks played a crucial role in the food chain. They came in many sizes, from gentle giants that specialized in crushing shellfish to aggressive hunters unafraid of bold, opportunistic attacks. Among the dozens of species that once swam in this ancient sea, two stood out as the most notable: Ptychodus, the massive crusher shark, and Squalocorax, the fierce crow shark. Ptychodus, the gentle crusher shark. Contrary to the fearsome image of sharks often seen in films, Ptychodus was a gentle giant of the Western Interior Seaway. This species could grow up to 33 feet in length, comparable in size to today's great white shark. However, instead of sharp, flesh-tearing teeth, Ptychodus had a unique dentition arranged in large grinding plates, totaling as many as 550 teeth. These dental plates functioned like a natural millstone, perfectly adapted to crushing the hard shells of its prey. The primary diet of Ptychodus consisted of shelled mollusks, such as clams and other soft-bodied creatures that lived on the sea floor. At the time, the Western Interior Seaway was a paradise for such organisms. Nutrient-rich currents from rivers flowing into the sea nourished vast seabeds teeming with shell-bearing animals, providing Ptychodus with a constant and abundant food source. This abundance allowed it to thrive and become one of the most common sharks in the region, ranging from shallow coastal waters to deeper zones. Remarkably, the teeth of Ptychodus came in various shapes, from trapezoidal to round, and often featured small grooves on their surfaces. These grooves enhanced crushing power and helped grip the slippery shells of its prey. This is a textbook example of evolutionary adaptation. Instead of competing directly with large carnivorous predators, Ptychodus carved out a less contested ecological niche where it could reign virtually unchallenged. Squalocorax, the fierce crow shark. If Ptychodus embodied calm and specialization, Squalocorax was the embodiment of boldness and opportunism. At around 16 feet long, it wasn't the largest shark in the Western Interior Seaway, but it was one of the most efficient and aggressive hunters. Its jaws were lined with sharp, serrated teeth designed for killing, perfect for slicing through both flesh and bone. Squalocorax was an opportunistic predator, meaning it had no qualms about scavenging when the opportunity arose, yet it was equally willing to launch direct attacks. Fossil evidence shows bite marks from this shark on the remains of dinosaurs that had drifted out to sea, and even on smaller mosasaurs. Particularly striking are fossils of pteranodon giant flying reptiles, with wingspans up to 23 feet bearing Squalocorax tooth marks. This suggests the crow shark may have ambushed these reptiles as they skimmed the water's surface to catch fish. Its streamlined, hydrodynamic body allowed Squalocorax to swim swiftly and maneuver with ease, enabling it to pursue prey at various depths. Additionally, its skin was likely covered in tiny tooth-like scales that reduced drag and offered protection during collisions. In a marine environment dominated by colossal predators like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, speed and opportunistic tactics were the keys to its survival and success. In the ecosystem of the Western Interior Seaway, these two shark species represented opposite evolutionary strategies. 1. A gentle, shell-crushing giant that thrived on the plentiful resources of the sea floor. The other, a fast and cunning opportunist, ever ready to strike at any creature that entered its range. Their coexistence is a testament to the fact that the Western Interior Seaway was not only a harsh environment, but also one of extraordinary diversity. Plesiosaur, the long neck of the Loch Ness legend. Among the countless marine reptiles that once ruled the Western Interior Seaway, the the plesiosaurs stood out not only for their impressive size, but for their unmistakable body shape. They had rounded bodies, 4 massive, paddle-like flippers, short tails, and most striking of all, an unusually long neck. This iconic silhouette would later inspire the enduring legend of the Loch Ness Monster, still known to many today. Within the plesiosaur group, 3 notable species once swam these inland waters: Hydrotherosaurus, Mauisaurus, and, towering above the rest, the giant Elasmosaurus. Hydrotherosaurus measured about 25 to 26 feet, roughly the length of a small bus, and had a well-proportioned body, ideal for hunting schools of small fish in shallow waters. Mauisaurus grew even larger, exceeding 26 feet, with powerful flippers that allowed it to travel farther and hunt across a wider range of depths. But the true giant of the group was Elasmosaurus, which could reach up to 34 feet in length, with its neck alone measuring about 23 feet, nearly 2/3 of its total body length. This neck contained more than 70 vertebrae, an extraordinary number compared to most other reptiles, and a record among all known vertebrates. The diet of plesiosaurs was varied, but consisted mainly of fish, squid, and other small aquatic creatures. Their sharp, conical teeth, arranged in tightly packed rows, were perfect for gripping slippery prey. However, what made plesiosaurs such formidable hunters was not merely their jaws, but their sophisticated hunting strategy. They often kept most of their bodies at a distance, extending only their long necks toward their targets. In doing so, the prey was less likely to notice the threat approaching from behind, as the slender profile of the neck could easily be mistaken for the shape of a large fish. Once close enough, the plesiosaur needed only a powerful sweep of its flippers to surge forward and seize its prey in an instant. The anatomy of plesiosaurs suggests they were not as fast as mosasaurs or sharks, but they made up for it with exceptional maneuverability. Their 4 flippers worked in perfect coordination, generating both propulsion and precise control, allowing them to pivot or change direction abruptly. This was especially useful for chasing fast-moving schools of fish or slipping into rocky crevices to snatch hidden prey. These graceful, nearly silent movements also made plesiosaurs stealthy but highly effective hunters. Fossil evidence of plesiosaurs has been found throughout areas once covered by the Western Interior Seaway, showing they were widely distributed and adaptable to various environmental conditions. Some studies even suggest their long necks may have been used for long-range observation or for raising their heads above the water's surface without exposing the rest of their bodies, a tactic that would allow them to monitor prey while avoiding detection by larger marine predators. Xiphactinus, the giant bulldog fish. In a sea filled with colossal marine predators, Xiphactinus stood out as a hunter, both swift and ferocious. This was the largest bony fish ever to inhabit the Western Interior Seaway, measuring between 13 and 20 feet in length, comparable to, or even exceeding, the size of a small fishing boat. Its sleek, torpedo-shaped body allowed it to move at high speeds, making Xiphactinus one of the most dangerous aquatic killers of the late Cretaceous. The structure of its jaws earned it the nickname bulldog fish. With powerful jaws, a crushing bite, and rows of needle-sharp teeth angled outward like steel pins, it could lock onto prey and tear it apart with brutal efficiency. Adding to its arsenal, its pectoral fins were reinforced with enamel-coated spines that could reach up to 3 feet in length, functioning as secondary weapons capable of injuring or slowing prey during a chase. Combined, its fearsome bite and specialized fins left Xiphactinus with few rivals in open water pursuits. Its diet reflected both its opportunistic nature and its greed. Fossils have been found with the remains of entire fish preserved inside its stomach. Sometimes, the prey was more than half the length of the predator itself. The menu of Xiphactinus was not limited to fish. It also included juvenile sea turtles, unlucky pterosaurs skimming the water's surface, and even young mosasaurs. This wide-ranging predatory ability meant it could exploit any opportunity, from ambushing in shallow waters to launching full-speed assaults in the open sea. Speed was one of Xiphactinus's greatest advantages. With a body built for explosive bursts, it could reportedly reach speeds of up to 37 miles per hour, an extraordinary figure for a bony fish. More impressively, it is believed to have been capable of leaping out of the water to strike prey near the surface or even in the air. Imagine a creature nearly 20 feet long surging upward from below, its gaping mouth bristling with jagged teeth, snapping up a seabird or a pterosaur in mid-flight, and you begin to understand why Xiphactinus ranks among the most fearsome predators of its time. The giant ammonite Parapuzosia. Parapuzosia is one of the most remarkable creatures of the Western Interior Seaway, not for its speed or ferocity, but for its sheer size and distinctive appearance. This was a giant ammonite, a group of mollusks distantly related to today's squid and octopus, but with the signature coiled, chambered shell. At its maximum size, the shell of Parapuzosia could reach a diameter of up to 11.5 feet and weigh around 3,300 pounds. The shell alone made it one of the heaviest invertebrates to have ever existed. The spiral shell of Parapuzosia was more than just armor. It was a marvel of biological engineering. Inside, the shell was divided into multiple chambers, with the animal itself occupying only the outermost one. The remaining chambers were interconnected by a tube called the siphuncle, which allowed Parapuzosia to adjust the amount of water or gas within them, changing its buoyancy at will. This mechanism enabled it to move through the water using jet propulsion, expelling water from its body cavity through a siphon to generate thrust, much like modern squid and octopuses. While it could not match the speed of more agile predators, Parapuzosia excelled in stability and precise maneuvering at various depths. With its massive size and shell as hard as stone, Parapuzosia had few natural enemies. Large predators, like mosasaurs, could crush the shells of smaller ammonites to get to the soft body inside. But doing the same to Parapuzosia would have been nearly impossible. Only the largest and most determined hunters might have dared to attempt it. Some paleontologists even suggest that Parapuzosia's enormous size was itself an evolutionary strategy to deter predation. Although a free-floating creature, Parapuzosia played an important role in the Western Interior Seaway's ecosystem. It was a link in the food chain, providing a rich source of nutrition for any predator capable of breaching its defenses, while also serving as a host for smaller organisms that lived as parasites or encrusted its shell. Many Parapuzosia fossils show shells once completely covered by other life forms, creating a miniature ecosystem where algae, corals, and various invertebrates coexisted on the ammonite's surface. The Western Interior Seaway was not just a vast inland sea in Earth's geological history. It was a grand natural laboratory of evolution, where nature tested the limits of size and adaptability. Over the millions of years it existed, this ancient ocean produced an astonishing array of massive and formidable creatures, from high-speed predators like Tylosaurus to the seemingly invincible battleships like Mosasaurus hoffmanni to coastal living fortresses such as Deinosuchus. The Western Interior Seaway eventually vanished as tectonic plates shifted and global sea levels receded, leaving its legacy behind in the layers of rock and the fossils scattered across North America. Yet, its story continues to live on in the fossil record, in the minds of scientists, and in the imagination of all who hear about it. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future journeys of discovery. Because there are still countless other mysteries waiting to be told, stories that just might change the way we see ourselves.